we'll try to,
Or not, or whatever, you know, right?
we'll try to be responsibly prompt in calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. Today's May the 22nd, 2020. I'd like to welcome all our guests, everybody, elected officials, guests, and Miss Hinton.
You want me to start?
We had a Finance Committee meeting Monday. We took care of most of the business and stuff. The judge has requested a Finance Committee meeting today, and we actually do have another order of business that regards some of the economic development money that I'd like to just go over with Justice Nelson and Mr. Thomas before we leave today. So, but with that, Judge.
I'll be brief. I apologize for calling the meeting on which is close to a holiday, but it won't take but a few minutes. I do want to bring Wayne in this and let him give a update on the COVID and the expenses involved in that.
Hello, sir. Hello, gentlemen, ladies. Wayne Reynolds, Mississippi County Office of Emergency Management. And right now, see, if I remember, last I looked this morning, we had 60-something cases and 40-something recoveries. So there's only like 16 or 20 active cases in the county. Now, however, with this big testing push that they did yesterday in Blytheville, I believe it was, I expect that number to increase. More testing, you'll find more numbers. It is what it is. So, but we are doing pretty good. Our numbers are fairly good. So let's keep up doing what we're doing.
Did we have another death this morning?
Not that I have heard.
Bobby Freeman over in Manila died.
Ah,
I got that from because he's the uncle to one of my employees. And he had it.
I have not heard that because Department of Health does not report that information due to HIPAA. So, but
Freeman? Bobby?
what I'm here for is I'm filling up the Finance and Administration Department has a grant out there that for that the amount of money set aside for Mississippi County specifically is $58,008, and I'm filling out that grant right now, and I need those. It has to be submitted by the 1st of the month. So, if you are wanting to do any more emergency protective measures for your offices, county officials, I need that information ASAP, like real soon.
Wednesday?
Yes, sir. Wednesday morning preferably. I need at least cost estimates if you have not had the work done yet. Like for the collector's office, the plexiglass they put up, that's a good example of a protective measure, and that's on the grant already. And contactless thermometers, I'm going to ask for money for a lot more masks and that sort of thing. But I need all that by Wednesday, please.
So if your department's done anything in the way of COVID, you'll need those numbers. And I know the circuit clerk will need to be contacted, given that information, because I know they have expended some money.
Right. I have some of their receipts already, but I'll ask them again. If there's no other questions, I'm good to go.
Would you pass those down?
Thank you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I just wanted to, the reason I called the meeting is just to bring everyone up to date on what the county judge's office has become aware of. I sent everyone an email. I think you all got that had the attachment from Taylor Marshall. Did everybody get that that's at this table? And JT also contacted the Association of Counties. So what I wanted to do, and we've got this budget right here will show we will make it to the end if we take the $200,000 out of bond proceeds. If you'll look, and it's in red on line 35, the construction contingency, that shows the balance. And then on line Marshall, do you see it?
What do you,
70?
Is that 200,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, 70.
Yeah, on line 70 shows the 200,000. I spoke with Porter Brownlee earlier this morning. We are somewhere probably above 90% of the deconstruction, which I think leads most all of us to believe the contingency money, most of the contingency money was planned to be used in the deconstruction because, you know, you never know what you might find when you tear a wall out or excavate the parking lot. So he thinks we're good there. I talked with Aaron a little bit after that, asked him about the contingency money and if it was going to cause us any problem to take 200,000 out. He did not believe that it would, that we will make it. I checked the latest funds balance at the treasurer's office, and I think we've got about $4.5 million in county general. So if it come out of there, I think we would be fine. I just want to make sure that, like I said, we're all on the same page and we all know everything. I don't know if you're planning on attaching a document with that ordinance,
what type of document?
the one that Mr. Marshall had pointed out.
Well, I think, if I can interrupt for just 1 second, I made the motion the other day to, and I think I stated fair market value, and I may need to amend my motion to say cost of replacement. Because I don't know that we're gonna be able to get an appraisal. I think part of the building is, I don't know if it's been torn down, not been torn down, but fact is they're moving, so I think it should be the cost of replacing their building.
Well, did we not have an appraisal to that effect from JT?
It
It was like 197,000
Well,
and change?
that was, and I wasn't a part of that, but I believe, I sent him out to find out what it would cost to build another, to move, or take that one down and move it, or to build a brand new one, and we're talking about the same size, and he came back and verbally gave me a number. This come from a local contractor, and I probably just rounded it to 200, but that's how that got. I never saw anything in writing.
He did send it to me in writing, I saw it.
We've got
Okay.
one in writing to that effect, and it's 197,000 and change, and I thought about what you're talking about, the document, I just didn't realize what you were speaking of, but I thought that would probably suffice, since he had a true estimate there.
And, but keep in mind too, if you fall under the purchasing laws, you know that there's statutes and guidelines on it. And if you go through the county court and go through it as a claim, you've got a whole lot broader abilities there.
You want to explain? I mean, you or Jeremy, what you mean by broader?
You want to tackle that or you want me to?
Done.
Well, if it's, if there's a claim brought before the county court, then it is decided there that if it is a valid claim, and it could encompass things such as making someone whole after, you know, it's gone through a process where they were not whole anymore. So you don't have to do those things such as appraising buildings and all, because actually, you know, we're really not purchasing that building. We're really making the emergency squad whole again. That's my take on it. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yes, sir. I actually had emailed Taylor myself. You know, Taylor and I developed a pretty good relationship during the bond process, and very non-political, just point of law, is this okay type of email after our meeting the other day. And in that, I said the premise or the concept that the quorum court is looking at it is if the state highway department were to do a road project that took out somebody's home, they'd be obligated to purchase that home.
Right.
We're working on the same concept. If we're going to expand that parking lot and take out the emergency service building, then I felt like we needed to compensate them for the loss of their building.
Absolutely.
Same thing.
Compensate. Well, but you know, when you read as the law goes though, if you're making a purchase, you know, you have guidelines.
So what's the difference in the procedure then? We want to do it as easy as possible to make sure they're taken care of. So have you researched the procedure of taking it through the county court? Because I truly hadn't thought about that.
Well, you know, I'm a first-year county judge, so I'll have to research it more, but, do you know the?
I mean, it's eminent domain is what it's called, but it's, I mean, as far as figuring out the procedure through county court, it won't take me much to figure that out, exactly how to proceed. I would think the emergency squad would most likely need to file some sort of petition for relief.
Or a claim, it just be a claim.
Yeah, and then the county court would say, yeah, we grant that, and.
Right. But if you're gonna call it purchasing, well, then it falls under a set of guidelines that you have to adhere to, just like if it qualified for the bidding process.
We'd still need to pass the appropriation ordinance for the $200,000 to cover the claim. How do you feel about the county court? Would it go through there okay?
Oh, yeah, I know the judge.
Guys, what I'm referring to is the county judge actually is the county court serving in a judicial sense. So when he refers to the county court could handle it, he's talking about himself, working in a judicial capacity. So if we went that route, there wouldn't have to be any appraisals or anything. The emergency squad would simply have to present a claim of loss of $200,000, and then the county court would then have to approve that claim, and we'd write them a check. Am I right in that, Jeremy?
That's the
Do
way
I
I
not understand that correctly?
That's the way I understand it, yes, sir.
And I certainly would take the position that the money should come from county general, but if the court wants it to come from somewhere else, I would like to have I'd like to have some paperwork in hand if this is what y'all want to do.
Well, this ordinance, appropriation ordinance that we're intending to pass Tuesday night specifies coming out of the bond fund. Would that not cover that?
How about we do the ordinance and then we do a resolution as well?
That's fine. Both of them specify. Okay, now then. Now we're down to discussion for a second here. We talked the other day, and truly, you correct me if I'm wrong, your motion was to take it out of the courthouse bond construction fund. And the judge just stated that he'd like to see it come out, he's not insisting, but he'd like to see it come out of the county general fund.
And the only reason is because of the, the opinions of the Association of Counties and Taylor Marshall. That is the only reason.
Okay, the opinion that you're talking about was where Taylor said that it could open us up to
That's correct.
potential lawsuits.
I spoke to Tyler Marshall on the phone after I got your email, because I was curious. And I called and I asked him simply, I said, what would happen if somebody did file a lawsuit because we took this out of the bond issue? He said, well, you ought to have to put it back. So if somebody files a lawsuit and we lose, then we can take it out of county general then. He said that would be the worst case scenario, pretty much, we'd have to pay it back.
How did he seem? I mean, did he seem reasonably okay with what we were trying to do?
Pretty much. I mean,
He
he's
never
not,
responded to my email, so.
Of course, if you put it back, how would you put it back a year later?
Just reimburse it. Just reimburse it.
Where would the money go?
You talking about after the project was closed out?
Yeah.
Well, any overage that we would have from the bond issue, just how we would handle any of that. I mean, if we don't spend all the money, then we're still gonna have overage.
Yeah. I'm just curious about what,
Where it would go.
and you remember a lot of y'all were there at Little Rock when we signed those papers, and there was probably, I'm gonna guess, over 1,000 pages to that agreement.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it could be applied as a payment towards our bond issue.
Okay, that would make sense.
You know, there was a certain length of time that we cannot make extra payments, but then after a 3.5-year period, we could actually pay it off at any point.
Yeah.
And any overage could be applied toward that bond payment.
Okay.
At that point in time, can we designate it to go to help with any expenses of fixing up the Osceola courthouse also?
Yes, it could also be used down at Osceola.
Sure, that would, well, of course, well, yes, we could. It could, even if the construction was over.
Yeah. Always something to do, especially,
Always, yeah.
you know, this courthouse will end up in a virtual new state, but that one, it will not. And so there's always something to do down there.
And I've spoken with I've spoken with Aaron, I've spoken with Porter and the contractor. What I'd like to do is arrange for a time for us all to go through there before they get too much further along, because it's something to see right now.
The old one, the Blytheville one?
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
They're framing,
About that yesterday.
they're framing up right now, and you can still see the deconstruction, and I think that maybe sometime next week.
They poured their first pour for their footings yesterday on the new buildings. Because I had to go inspect that, and I've already been inside the old building once to look around.
So from the members of the court, is there any inclination of changing the ordinance that we're looking at for Tuesday night from the bond money over to the county general?
I don't think there's any problem, because on the copy of the email that the judge sent and Taylor Marshall, the wording on the bond issue on the ballot referred to the bond will be secured by pledge, so. And it says, can be used for equipment furnishings, utility, road, parking, and drainage improvements related thereto. I don't see that there's ever gonna be a problem with it personally. May get sued tomorrow, but
Anybody could pick apart anything about the project that they didn't like and sue us over it. I mean, they could do that almost on a daily basis. We put gravel over here and we didn't put gravel over there. I mean, there's always something that the county
Well,
can be sued
just
over.
like that picture sitting there over there, the plans they've got, he's looking at. In that picture, you see iron gates for Sallyport doors. Now we're talking about a different style Sallyport door. And I realize it's a construction project, plans are to be changed, but they can sue us over that.
So the court is comfortable with moving forward with the ordinance as it's written and taking the money out of the bond issue.
yes.
Whoever they is.
If that's okay, then we're gonna leave it stand and vote
That'd be
as
fine.
is.
Do you have anything to add to it?
No, I'm good with that, because like I said, the worst case scenario, you just take it out of a different fund and put it back, so.
If the word ever comes back. Okay.
And I was a little confused when they said that the person's suing, so it would have to be a taxpayer of Mississippi County?
Somebody that is allowed to vote. I
Okay.
mean, because if they voted in this election, they have standing to
I
say,
see.
well, that's not what I voted on.
Okay, gotcha.
But they would have had to have voted in the election.
In my mind, they'd have to prove that they were, yeah. It'd be hard to prove what you voted, whether you voted for it or against it, but I think there'd be a record of whether you showed up to vote or not.
Gosh, that could be said about anything about the subject.
That's true.
I think the IRS was one of the biggest concerns of mine, so.
Okay. You know, one thing about this whole deal with them and with the expansion of the project is just communication between the court and Aaron Ruby as Revival Architecture, the judge's office. There was some misunderstanding, I mentioned it the other day, about some kind of planning committee or something, and we don't have one of those. And I think if we could improve communication some way, get a little bit more direct thought process or inclusion in on this. I don't know, anybody got any thoughts, or how do y'all feel? I'm just one guy.
Isn't that Justice Wallace?
Well, that's true. Energy and property.
I tell you, I may make a suggestion that why don't, if y'all don't mind, why don't we just have everybody on the front court copied on the emails?
I still think it's your responsibility more than you ought to.
Justice Nelson said he still thinks, that I'm repeating it just for the people that can't hear. in the mask situation. Justice Nelson said he still felt like, as chairman of the Energy and Property Committee, it falls squarely on Justice Jackson's shoulders in this project. And really, that's where it belongs. I mean, energy and property, as far as the plans, the schemes, the money. I'm not blaming you for anything or giving you credit for anything. It's just energy and property.
We're just throwing you under the bus.
I know, there you go. Well, okay, so I'm chairman of Energy and Property, and so I do see these, so I see the emails at the moment, and I see, I mean, just like you guys, I mean, apparently, obviously, I'm not able to go to all the meetings and hear all the decisions made and all of the things that are included in those. So there's a great number of things that seem to, that pop up afterwards. While yes, I can give updates, I don't know that I really have, as the Energy and Property, or even us as a court at the moment, really has much control or
Input.
over how the money is spent.
It's information we're looking for.
Yes, so,
You can do that.
okay.
Well, I'll be honest, and I alluded to this the other day. According to this sheet, updated, and I assume this was from Aaron Ruby.
Yes.
Spreadsheet. We're barely into this project. I mean, we're into it. But we're down to only $3,123 left that hasn't been committed. Well, I know I've been involved in a project or two before. There are going to be things that are going to start popping up. Invariably, there's going to be other things, other expenses that are going to be popping up. You have other bids to go out, such as the parking lot construction and all those things. And there's going to be other money. It looks like most everything here is, there's some commitments made that we're basically, the money's been spent.
But it hasn't been.
But that's right. So now, when I spoke with Aaron the other day, he said that there are some if the project needs to be scaled back, now is the time to do it, because there are submittals that are coming up soon. So, but at the moment, I don't know what the submittals are.
I'll give you one example.
Okay.
I got called by the superintendent of the job, as the building inspector for the city of Blytheville. He pointed out that there was not an outside disconnect. And because there was a generator, that created an additional problem. So we had to go back with Aaron Ruby. We have designed a way for them to put a shunt breaker on the outside of the building. But it will be located inside a Knox box where only the fire department has a key to get to it to shut it off. This is a safety requirement. Now, had the electrical room been left on the wall to the outside where they had to go through one door, we might have waived it. But you had to go through 3 doors to get into the electrical room. So this is going to be a substantial change. I know just a regular Knox box is $400. I don't know how much one costs with this shunt breaker in it. But those have to be ordered through the Blytheville Fire Department. They're also going to have to put trips on each one of the gates, because the fire department connection for the building, for the sprinkler system, is inside the secure area. So they have to be able to open every gate to get the fire truck into the fire department connection. So we're talking at least 3 Knox boxes, and they're not just simple Knox boxes. They're going to be having controls in them to open gates and to shut off power.
Well, I guess the point I'm making.
That's not on here.
No, the point I'm making is that unless we take a breath here and pause right here and start going back and scaling back some things, everything that comes up, like you just mentioned, Rick, is going to come out of county general funds, because there's no money left here. Is that a pretty fair assumption?
If it's left as it sits, that's very true.
So if we don't start scaling, if we don't scale back now, then everything that comes up, and I guarantee you, there's gonna be all kind of little things like this, then it's gonna all be cost overruns. It will have to be paid out of county general funds.
I've had, and I'm not gonna look at anybody in particular, I've had several of you JPs ask if we could not scale back the appropriations on the, we just appropriated all the money, $17 million basically. And several of y'all have asked me, can we not roll back the appropriations and do it more on some kind of intermittent basis, based on expenditures and submittals and, input from the quorum court, like on a monthly basis or anything. I'm not suggesting that we do not saying that we not do that, but I have had at least 4 of you speak to me about that and ask, can we not scroll back the appropriations and start reappropriating as needed to get a little better control of where the cost overruns might possibly cut back. Any discussion?
I'm not on this committee, but if I could make that motion, I probably would, because I want to be able to approve what we purchase. I don't want it to be purchased by Aaron Ruby or whoever, and then they say, okay, we bought this. I want to know what we're buying before we buy them. And there's certain things we can't control, but there are certain expenditures we can control and possibly save money. And if there could be some money saved in this project, possibly more money could be used at Osceola. Because we all know that courthouse needs a lot of attention, so.
Well, and if I remember correctly too, when we started talking to Aaron, there was like a tier 1, 2, and 3, like, 1 being the best, 3 getting the job done. And so at that time, we had talked about, it'd be a variation of those things. Some may be a 1, but a lot would be a 3. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know how many of these are 1s and how many of them are 3s. And I do agree with Justice Norvell. It would be nice to know beforehand, what are we looking at, top of the line, or are we looking at what is a necessity to get it done?
In constitutional terms, the power of the quorum court is referred to as the power of the purse, the money. But the true reality of most of the money, we appropriate the money, but then we don't see the money that's spent until after the fact. John the judge has been in this position. He understands what we're talking about. But, we see the bills after they're paid, not before. And we do appropriate them, but in the line item budgets, we actually have a line item budget that we appropriate those for, and not just a broad $16, $17 million appropriation.
Well, what would be wrong with that room county court say, okay, look, we need this to purchase this, and then let's appropriate the money.
See, I think that kind of stuff ought to go through the Energy and Property Committee. I'm not even on that committee, but I think that's true too.
I'm on the committee with you.
Well, we are going to meet, I think we're gonna meet on the 28th. We'll get that straight out.
I got a question for you, Judge. Now, the county road department's removing those Safeway parking lot, right?
That's correct.
How much is the county being credited by the construction company for doing that? I'm just curious.
They're not crediting the road department anything. The way that originated was, we sent the bids out. We had 2 different contractors. We've got the roofing contractor, which is Renaissance, and then we have CNI, which is the building. And the reason why we wanted to do it that way is both those roofs are historical, architecturally unique, and so there's not many people that's in that field right now that can do that job. So Renaissance is one of those roofing companies that can do it. So, and each one of those bid packages went out with scaffolding, because the roofer's going to have a scaffold, and the construction company's going to have a scaffold. So, in the very beginning, we were able to save a great deal of money if we just had one scaffold, and then the 2 construction outfits split the cost. So what we did was we arranged for a meeting between both contractors, and their charge at that meeting was to find a way to get one scaffolding up, and we're both both firms could use it. Well, at the Blytheville Courthouse, we got scaffolding on 3 sides, and everything was just fine. But on the north side, the scaffolding was either too far out or too close. And it was just a matter of inches. But the Renaissance wasn't able to perform their work because of the position it was in. So we had to take the scaffolding down and move it a few inches. And that was a little over $9,000. And so we went, of course, immediately to the construction companies and, well, what is going on here? And, well, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. And each of them was arguing, and so rather than rather than stop any of the construction over this, then what I did was I volunteered to do that amount of money or somewhere to get close to that. And then so C&I is the one that ended up taking a hit, and we just offset some of their costs. Did you follow that?
Yeah, I just don't know how much we got credited for that. That's what I'm getting at. Did we get?
Well, we really didn't get a credit. What happened was one of those 2 companies should have paid to have that scaffolding moved. And each of them thought it was the other one's fault.
So it saved us about $9,000.
That's right.
Okay.
But then, just to go back to what Justice Burge was saying, with that in mind, that is 100% legal. The county owns the property, roads, you control you control what happens, and can spend the money at will. However, again, that's 2 revenue streams. You're looking at construction, bond money versus county money. And so we use county money to demo the slab. Completely legal to do. However, we are already using county general money to help fund this construction project.
And we use county money on tearing that building down. Originally, yes.
So we're already there a little bit. I'm trying not to sugarcoat things today, because I do realize that everybody is, this seems to have been a big discussion, a big public discussion. I do feel like I have some responsibility in it because I am the chairperson of Property and Energy, and some of these questions have been brought to me. Some information I know, some information I don't. At the time, I was in all agreement to appropriate all the money and let's do it. I don't think that's what we should do anymore. I just don't. This is too big of a project with too much money at stake, with too many taxpayer dollars. I mean, we're talking about 30 years, 30 years here and $17 million. Surely we can get in that box. Surely we can scale back. Surely we can keep it on track.
Now's the time to do it if we're going to do it.
We talked in the meeting the other day, there's some asbestos issue, there's an asbestos issue. It's coming up, so there's gonna have to be something done with that. It may, it could be as expensive as $40,000, or it may not be, but just a couple of $1,000s, depending on how we treat it. But those things will be, and I can attest to that through renovation projects that I've done. Those things will be every day. The judge can tell you that's going on every single day. If I were the judge, I would not want all that money. I would want somebody else looking at it. I think we should all look at it. I think it should come through the Energy and Property and go to Finance so that we can all attest, so that we're all 11 here. We all know what's going on and we all know where the money's going. And if we get to the bottom and we were running out, we can all do a jump up and down and say, we're running out of money. Stop spending. That's all. I mean, sorry, I'm emotional.
Let me add something to it as well.
Well said.
Molly?
You do, Justice Burge, did you see that we had $350,000 in contingency?
I did.
Okay, so we're not right there at the bottom dollar.
But if I'm not mistaken, the $200,000 that we're talking about going out, that takes out $200,000.
No, the 350 is what's after the 200 is taken out.
Okay, but Judge, I can tell you now, that $350,000 on a project like this when you really get into the nuts and bolts, it will go like water.
Right, I was thinking, you said a while ago, we was down to like 3,000.
Well, that's on the bottom. He took that out, I assume, before he told me. I'm just looking at the.
I just want to let you know there was 350, and then I want to add one more thing. On the scale that Justice Jackson was talking about, we do have those, the budget is broken into 3 different buckets. So we've got the inputs, and then we have our allowances, and then we have the contingency. And on the drawings, I don't know if each one of you's got a set of drawings, but the allowances are marked. I mean, you can clearly see which one's an allowance and which one's an input. So, so for those items that would be nice to have, they're put into an allowance. We can scale them back greatly in the dollar amount that we're using, or we don't have to buy it at all. Or in the beginnings, what was initially in the conversation was to raise it by private subscription. But the bid came in so much lower that it, at least so far, it doesn't look like we're gonna need to do that.
Well, I was, from the very beginning, in the initial conversations and the meetings that we had and everything leading up to this, and there were numerous meetings and so forth, everyone felt comfortable that we had included like $1 million in contingency in that, and that everything was going to be all right as long as we watched what we were doing. I was comfortable with that. I don't think there's any reason why we can't do this project for the amount that it came in. The original bid came in a little lower, but you know, there's been some other things that have changed. The contingency is basically pretty well gone now, you might say.
Well, less than 2/3 of it.
But,
And most of that was expected to be spent during the deconstruction. So we're really on, as far as being on schedule, we're really where we should be, is financially. But I think so. I think you're right. I think the quorum court needs to be better informed, and hopefully we'll put this in place. Whether Justice Jackson will be the liaison or whether the whole court wants to participate, I certainly want everyone to know exactly what's going on.
I am on the Energy and Property Committee. And I think that a lot of things the public has come to me and asked me about that I knew nothing of, okay? I believe this will be the first time we met. I believe when this committee meet, whatever comes out of the meeting and we bring it to the full court, I believe everyone will be better informed, because a lot of things that appeared in the paper on well, you know how that goes. I had no knowledge of it. A lot of things, I think that we all, I think we all should have some type of knowledge of what's going on, whether it can be changed or not, because a lot of this I know nothing of.
I can include you on the copy for the email if you'd like, because most everything goes through the email.
In terms of the actual money, you know where it comes down here on this end, it's just dollars and cents, and where's the dollars and where's the cents. In the overall budgeting process, what we did is in the Blytheville Courthouse Construction Fund, in our 2020 budget, we budgeted $5,781,244.96. 5.8 million roughly. Of that, we have a remaining balance at the end of April, that was 3 weeks ago, of $4,213,387.23. So we budgeted 5.8 million in Blytheville. In Osceola, we went ahead and budgeted the $2 million in Osceola, and that's budgeted, spendable. At the end of the month, at the end of April, we had only spent $2,650 out of that. So we basically had the $2 million left. And then we have a courthouse construction CD fund. And in that CD fund, at the end of April, we had $8,626,423.70. So we got a little over 8.5 million that's unappropriated and sitting in a CD for appropriation later on. Right now, what we have that's vulnerable and expendable, if we take no further action, is 4.2 million in the Blytheville Construction Fund and 2 million in the Osceola Construction Fund. That's just informational.
But you have a signed contract out there committing the county to CNI for $11,098,000.
That's true, but, and I did speak to Kelly, our finance. By the way, y'all excuse me, but Kelly is not here today because she had a sudden death in the family this morning. Were you aware?
No, I was not.
I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, she called me, her brother-in-law,
Passed away.
yeah, well, the mom actually found him this morning. He didn't get out of bed, she went in and checked on him, and he was not alive, so.
So she's taking emergency leave to run down with her husband to see about that. So, but anyway, Kelly and I spoke about it, exactly what you're talking about. And say we had no money in the appropriation, then we'd simply have to appropriate on a monthly basis for payments to be made.
That sounds good.
I'm not advocating that, and I'm not saying we can't do that, but if we did that, that's easily handled. It's just handled on a monthly basis. We appropriate for whatever funds that we anticipate spending. So if, what you were talking about, if we had no money in there, and the Energy and Property Committee met the week before Finance Committee, and met with the judge and Aaron Ruby and any of the JPs that cared to be involved, and they went over what they anticipated to be expended in the next 30 to 60 days, or how far they wanted to go. Mr. Ruby wanted to go. The Energy and Property could look through those expenditures of anticipated expenditures before they happen instead of after, and then decide if that was going to work and is it going to hold us within the budget. And then whatever, say it came up to $1 million that month. We need $1 million in the next 30 to 60 days, and they recommend to the Finance Committee that we appropriate $1 million to cover X expenditures on this line item basis. That could be done. I'm just saying that's the
I
way.
think that's a wonderful idea.
That's the way it should be done.
Well, let's not wait till then. I think we should start right now. I think day one is the best day.
Well, I believe, well, see, this is the first time the Energy and Property Committee has met.
Well, there was a meeting in December.
Okay, well, the second time. And I believe if we can get our heads straightened out with it and bring it to you all, because I'm sure everybody sitting at this table still doesn't have a full, clear idea of what's going on.
I think the sooner the better.
There's 12 of us. There's 11 JPs and the county judge. We're all held accountable by the people that voted us into office.
That's true.
And the question is, where are you guys? I keep being asked that here lately. Where is the quorum court?
If I could just cut to the chase, I think everybody would feel a lot better. I personally would. I feel like it would calm a little bit of talk with the citizens of Mississippi County, that there's going to be some more eyes on it before I feel like that is what we need to do. We need to revisit and start fresh, and we should appropriate money monthly for the expenditures. And if that comes through Energy and Property and then to Finance, that's the way I think it should go. Yes, that's a motion.
And I second the motion.
Discussion from other JPs.
That would be a resolution, so
But right now, it's a resolution, that's correct. Judge, discussions on your end?
I think that's a good idea. I really don't, I caution on meeting monthly. I think maybe weekly would be about as long out as I want to go.
Your committee.
Well, we can meet weekly. We can meet weekly. I am retired. I can bail.
Yeah, but you're gonna be late.
Say what?
You're gonna be late.
No. I can, no.
And we can certainly talk about that. I know that there's bi-weekly meetings with the construction company, the architect, and the county, isn't that right?
Yeah, I
So-
think you really need to be there too.
Yeah, so we could certainly do it bi-weekly, and that may give us and that could potentially keep the contractors kind of a little bit more on schedule. I know that we've discussed they've amended their agenda and their schedule a couple of times, and they have been a little bit, I know they were, I think we were talking about meeting bi-weekly, and I'm not sure if you guys have been meeting bi-weekly. I know at one time I was getting the field reports from those meetings, but I have not seen those in a little bit. So I don't, are those still going on?
Well, and honestly, I mean, I'm there every day, so what do you call it? I'm not sure exactly what the schedule is because I'm there. But I'm saying there's so many things that happens during a day, and then by the time a week gets by, there's a whole lot. So I think you may want to consider weekly. I mean, y'all do it the way you want to, but
How often does Mr. Ruby come?
That bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly?
He actually is the one that sort of has the responsibility of tracking the budget.
That's right.
So it seemed like when he's in town, that's when the meeting should be held.
Yeah.
Because that's part of his responsibility, that's part of his contract, that's what he gets paid for.
and Mr. Brownlee is really who works for you.
Right.
He oversees the architect and the contractor, so he is independent of anything.
But he reports to Aaron
Me.
Ruby, does he?
No,
report?
no, that's what I'm saying. He makes sure that Aaron's doing his job, and he makes sure that the contractors are doing their job, and that before the money's expended, that those jobs were completed and the materials were correct. He gets a list of everything. So
Well,
that certainly is an important,
He probably makes that meeting with Mr. Ruby.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then that seems like would be the logical
You
time.
can always start out bi-weekly, and then if y'all got us, make
When you
sooner,
say
then
weekly, we will.
Yeah. And then there was and he's doing a good, he's signing off, and then also Mr. Ruby, is signing off on work completed, that there is a 5% or a 10% holdback until the job is 50% complete. And then it's 100% payout after that. So at the end of the project, you still have a 5% holdback. So anyway, so there is a little, some other things there too. Anyway, okay.
Why don't we change your motion to bi-weekly?
The bi-weekly sounds great.
Exactly what is your motion now? And is your motion touching the funds or just a motion to start meeting more?
No, I think at this point we have to touch the funds a little bit. We have to bring the funds back and see the expenses and appropriate the money as the expenses are needed. And I think that we can do that. The question would be, so if they came through energy and property, would it need to come to finance, which only meets monthly?
This is a work in progress.
It sure
All right.
is.
We've got.
And this is how, so just for everybody else here, this is how we kind of got to the point of where we appropriated all the money, in the beginning, because it seems like it would be much easier just to have the money out there and the expenses go through. But it seems like we've come to a time, yeah.
Hit some snakes. There's, at the end of April, now, it won't be the same, and Kelly wasn't available a while ago. At the end of April, we had $4,213,000. We've got bills we've paid. We do. We've got more bills coming. We couldn't go in there and say, okay, we're gonna gut it to $4 million, take out $4,213,000. We can't do that. If you wanted to reduce it and still leave some breathing room in there, maybe reduce it $3 million and give some time to work out the kinks. And that would still leave at the end of April, for the month of May, that would leave, 1.2, and then moving into June to cover expenditures and work out whatever procedural kinks. Judge, I'm just thinking here. You know more than I do, so you tell me.
I think we ought to start from today and put that in process right now. And so the next bill comes through, I think it ought to go to Energy and Property and then go to the court.
Okay, back to
Okay,
your motion.
so the motion would be to reduce it by 3 million, which would leave a little over $1 million in there. And the expenditures come through Energy and Property, at least on a bi-weekly basis, and then move to Finance Committee.
Do you want to leave the Osceola $2 million as is for the moment?
Is there so now at one time,
Let's not tie that Osceola in with this.
no, I don't think so, and they have, we can
Okay,
talk about that.
That's fine.
now.
All right.
Wait a minute let me, before you vote. Let me see if I can wrap my mind around this. So, when the expenses come in, the bills,
At the moment, today.
that's right, let's just say that I'm sitting in Burdette and there's a bill that's put before me to sign off and here's what it is. You know, that's already been done.
That's what we're trying to get around. So what we'd like to do is begin the process. We've encumbered bills. You're gonna have to cover those bills that have been done.
Right.
But as we start this process on these bi-weekly meetings, what we'd like to see, I think, is for you and Aaron and the committee to work together about anticipated expenditures, and we play ahead of the game,
And you
not behind.
And you get a report. Okay, now those reports, if I'm correct, don't exist right now, but I think Porter Brownlee could produce those.
You know, if the committee and the group, Aaron and you,
Yeah.
and if y'all anticipated, well, in next month, we're gonna spend $750,000, and it's gonna be spent on the roof here, and it's gonna be spent on the parking lot here, but we're gonna spend $750, we go ahead and appropriate that $750, and when the bills come through, you pay them.
Yeah, I think you ought to go to weekly instead of bi-weekly because, and here's why I say that, when, you know, the contractors are headed down and they anticipate doing this work, a lot of times what happens is there's a need for them to get shifted in another direction, so it's a completely different, you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
And that has happened often.
Maybe we start out on a weekly basis then and see how the project goes.
Yeah, that's fine, I said at least bi-weekly. So, and we may need to
So-
revisit if we can move it further out, but at least, yeah, and we can certainly start it weekly. I don't want to put that in my motion in case we can do it bi-weekly.
I don't even know if your motion would have to say bi-weekly or weekly, you know, just say you're gonna meet to approve
Okay.
these,
On a regular basis.
approve these purchases.
Okay.
But you want to reduce Blytheville Courthouse construction fund by $3 million, leaving hopefully a little over $1 million in it at the moment.
Yes, that's correct.
And I'd like to add, I think the best meeting place would be at the Blytheville Courthouse.
You
Okay.
talking about the one in Burdette or the one in Blytheville?
One in Blytheville, the Blytheville Courthouse.
Okay.
Inside the courthouse?
Yeah.
Where they're actually doing the construction?
I don't think you're gonna get,
Well, we're going into summertime, the weather ought to be reasonable.
yeah,
Oh, I'm
You got no air conditioning.
I think that's a good idea.
yeah. We have a room set
I
up for
have
those
walked
meetings
on a roof.
that we meet at right now.
So that.
We've got a motion, do I have a second? Got 2 seconds. Any other discussion from any at the table? Jeremy, any issues that you see there?
No, I had a question, for John. I was making sure you meant the committee's gonna meet that often, not the whole quorum court.
No, yeah, that's correct, just the.
Yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
committee meeting, but you know, our meetings are open, so.
And then what day of the week do we want to meet?
You can,
To be determined.
I think that'll have to be determined.
Now, determine what day Mr. Ruby's gonna be here.
Yeah, well, on the weeks that Aaron's here, I think we should meet on those days. I think we
Okay.
should just meet when he
Has he got a
needs.
schedule,
I don't
a
know.
regular schedule that he comes?
I think so. Well, that was the whole thing with the construction company. They have a schedule. They have an agenda of when these meetings are supposed to take place. And not saying they're not doing that. I'm just saying I think this would keep them on track as well. I think.
I'm there every day, so, you know, if he says he's coming, then he's coming, and
So Jeremy, do you have enough information to
Think so.
prepare an ordinance, an appropriation ordinance for Tuesday night?
I can do that.
It's a
Okay,
resolution.
we've got a motion, we've got seconds.
It's a resolution.
No, it's be an appropriation ordinance if we're taking
Oh,
$3 million
yes,
out
there's gonna have
of
to be 2 then.
the budget.
It's gonna have to be two, one ordinance to reduce it and a resolution for the meetings.
Yeah, that's fine. So, you understand what he's saying?
Mhm, I do.
We need a resolution just for the meetings. We need an ordinance reducing the budget.
Okay.
So, first, let's do the ordinance reducing the budget. And we have a motion and a second to reduce it by 3 million. All in favor? Okay, then you have a resolution.
Make a motion that we do a resolution for the committee to meet on a regular basis to see the forecast of expenditures.
Forecast of expenditures, and I do like that, because we can't be behind. We can't put him in a bind where he can't pay bills.
That's right.
Second.
Resolution and a second, motion and a second for a resolution that the Energy and Property Committee meet on a regular basis with the intention of forecasting expenditures in the courthouse project, and then moving those expectations to the Finance Committee for appropriation. All in favor?
Well, that was well put. Good.
Kidneys.
Goodness.
And I won't be late.
We had one other deal as far as Finance Committee concerned with the property in Planning and Development Committee's ordinances the other day and appropriations. Jeremy, did you and Justice Nelson get that straight?
Which one in particular are you talking about? I've got about 5 here.
Is there anything that you need us to straighten out? You can send Kelly the appropriation ordinance modifying employee expenses for Arkansas Northeastern College and for other purposes. And there was a question about account number.
Did I give
Yeah,
that
and
to you?
the question on that was, she gave me, if you remember, there was a similar motion made a few months ago,
Right.
which was voted against. And so I used the same account number,
No.
and I was asking Kelly if it's the right one or not.
I wrote everything on here that needs to be.
Okay. So I need the account number from Kelly, and it's the $25,000 salary commitment is only one time. It's not going to be an annual thing. So I just need to get that account number from Kelly, and then no problem.
Okay, is this your writing or is this Kelly's? Kelly emailed me. But Kelly's okay, so there's what you need right there.
What?
$25,000 for the,
Is there anything else that you need from us, Jeremy?
is this not the same thing?
I don't think so.
He says, yeah. you said
Oh,
JP's, anything else finance-wise that we need to attend to? Elected officials, we've got 4 of them. Excuse me, Justice Ash?
I'd just like to ask one question. Jerry, how formal a request does this need to be from the emergency squad to be recompensated for their thing? Does this be something they sit down and write out?
That's right.
I get with Mr. Godsey, but what it amounts to is it's just a fee bill. It's just a,
Right, but the college doesn't have their salary.
So a copy of that estimate to replace it plus their cost. of their
no,
accountants.
it doesn't have to have that. It would just need to be like an invoice. It could say, it doesn't have to be itemized. It could just say, building, $200,000, and at the bottom of it, total, $200,000. And then the emergency squad and how it's
Oh, I
titled,
know.
correctly. That'd be the only thing. And
They still ain't got it.
I believe that's all it would have to be, is that
I mean,
correct?
almost got it. Don't everything.
Yeah, and for the county order to be in,
Yeah.
yes.
It's just like, it's like any other bill. I'll get with you and we can go over particulars. Well, I mean, I assume it's a 501? Just the way that it's, so the check can be made out.
The emergency squad,
Right.
Blytheville City Emergency.
Blytheville City Emergency Squad. Yeah, just have that on there, billing $200,000 total.
I thought you meant title for the property.
Oh, no. I just meant so that we'd have the,
Attorney fees.
Sir?
Attorney fees.
and it'll be a much quicker
The overtime.
advance when
For
it goes
these
to
guys?
No, for the overtime.
the county court, because this other way, they'd have to wait 30 days.
I was gonna ask him what it
Okay,
is.
well, technically, we're not supposed to
Yeah.
know first, so.
Yeah,
We
it can
need
be
to know.
done.
I got a phone call and told me about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You open Monday.
No, we can't do
I
it
don't think
Monday
we have
because
time.
they've got to pass that ordinance. Actually,
Actually, he make the claim to you, and then we would appropriate the money to fulfill it.
Right, but in order for the money to be funded into that, are we gonna have to wait 30 days?
Why?
Because it's an appropriation ordinance?
No,
Or appropriation
it will
ordinance?
Take effect immediately.
Yeah,
Okay, so there won't be any holdup.
yeah,
The
real
Wednesday,
ordinance takes 30.
Mhm.
because the Corn Court will meet Tuesday night. And if it's passed there, well then, county court can be held Wednesday.
I do have one other order of business. We're hearing through the grapevine that we had a settlement in the court case with the overtime issue at the sheriff's department regarding the attorney fees, and that we were under order to pay pretty promptly.
Yeah, I don't remember, I don't have the email with me, I got it on my phone, if I find it, but it was around, was it 43? Is that the
So-
amount? I think that's the amount. But
I
Judge
heard it
Deacon-
was 30, but now mine's grapevine stuff, so I don't know.
See if I can find
30,000?
See, the attorneys, we did come to a settlement with the employees themselves, but then the attorneys for the employees have done this in multiple counties. Same thing, it's a cookie cutter type of operation, and they were asking for what we consider to be an exorbitant amount of money. I think in the neighborhood of $55,000. And they're doing that in every county, and they're asking for the same hours to be billed in every county multiple times. The federal judge disagreed with that, as did our attorneys, and so it was being arbitrated, and again, just through the grapevine, I've heard that they came to a number of $30,000 that the county was instructed to pay to the opposing attorneys.
I've got it here.
And then we had a certain short time frame in which to do that. And I didn't know if we needed to appropriate money for that, or,
Let me, let's see.
What date is it?
Date is May 12th, that's when it came out.
It's gonna be real close to May 4th.
His total, actually, was 38. It's $38,021.50. Due by May 29th. Woo!
Yeah.
So you might want to appropriate.
That's what we should have our regular business.
88,000?
no, 38.
Oh,
$38,021.50. I can get orders on it.
38,000, how much?
$38,021.50.
And we need that approved today to move
Well,
to
it
the
needs to be
full
paid,
court.
yeah, it needs to be voted on Tuesday night.
Well, the whole court's here pretty much. Why couldn't we just go ahead and vote it so that could get done?
Well,
We
we're
don't
not
have,
gonna
we
be,
don't have an ordinance, yeah.
we're closed now, we'll be
Yeah.
closed Monday.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
okay, I'll make a motion that the finance
Second.
committee members that we move that full court for funding.
Justice Nelson has moved that we appropriate $38,021.50 to pay the opposing attorneys and the sheriff's department lawsuit fee. I'll have to get with Kelly and figure out exactly what line items to bring that out of, but Jeremy, that'll be another one.
I'll shoot her, I'll send her an email.
Okay, and she will respond. She's got her phone. You can text her or email her, and she will respond. I think they're just down in Marion. It's just a sad situation for them. But if you could put that together for us, and we got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second that we appropriate $38,021.50 to cover the legal fees in the sheriff's lawsuit. All in favor, say aye. Thank you very much. Judge, any other business, sir?
I can't think of anything, everything's running along pretty smooth. We need it to quit raining so we can get some material out on the roads. We've probably got 1,000 loads spotted in 5 different areas, and when we get started, it rains. You
spent all your gravel budget last year. Told you it's the first time that we've ever had a judge that would actually do that. You spent your gravel money this year, but you do realize that you've got other monies. Road and bridges, you got $500,000. Asphalt, you got $250,000. All I'm asking is please don't quit.
Well, what our plans on doing is we will probably continue to bring road material in, not necessarily to use in 2020, but we want it to have it to where in 2021, it's already on the location. Because if we move it around, the county is so large that we've got these 5 different staging areas. If we can keep those full, well then when springtime gets here, we'll go right back in. So we're trying to get to where we're not interrupted because the beginning of last year, we didn't have any road material.
You mentioned earlier, I'm gonna switch gears on you. You mentioned before the meeting ever actually started that maybe we could get together and go actually look inside the courthouse.
Yes.
Just, see what's going on inside. Can we set a time for that? Because we talk about it, but we never get to do it. Could we figure a day next week, maybe we could get
I
together,
recommend that the first committee meeting that we,
meet there?
well, we're gonna meet there, that's what he said.
Okay, so Energy and Property Committee meeting? and-
Because we do need to walk through on a regular basis.
You wanna do it right now?
Some property.
I can.
Let's go. You like to adjourn the meeting.
I'm going late. I'll look on it.
That's a fine.
Property day.
Is there any other business?
No, sir.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have some information regarding landfill, which is just informational purposes. We have not had a meeting because we haven't had any real decisions to make, and because of the COVID virus. This is a spreadsheet showing 2019 and the first 4 months. I shared it with the judge last week, and I'd like to share this with the court.
Special, thank you very much.
And if anyone has any questions, you can give me a call.
We adjourn.
Judge, you had one last remark.
Well, speaking of that, I've had it, yeah. We're pumping water every day. Now it's not just rainwater, it's seep water.
Leachate or?
No, for the new construction of the new classroom. So what we had hoped to have already been accomplished is still sitting there because of the rain. So it is very much affecting us.
Really been slow. Everybody get it.
But we're in
Very good shape.
considering that.
Looks like we're gonna make budget, barely, but we're gonna make budget. We'd like to thank all our guests for coming. I hope that this was to your satisfaction and that the resolution will be in the benefit of not only the emergency squad, but the entire county because of the services that you guys provide. We were very, very grateful, and thank you very much. With that, meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.
You got my cell number?